All right, yeah, so this morning we're going to be in the book of Daniel. This is our second week in the book of Daniel, and taking a look at it. And it's funny, I've actually got a sermon loaded up about how it's going to kill turkeys, and then we killed this one this morning. But let's go, Lord, in prayer before we begin, and we'll look what God's got to say to us today from the book of Daniel. So, Lord, I thank you so much for bringing us together this morning, and I pray that as we look at your word in Daniel and what you have to say, that we would feel your calling on our hearts, we'd feel a prompting on actions we should take, a life we should live after following you. It's your my prayer. Amen. You're going to have to hear some more turkey talk, because we're all, us three guys are all pretty jazzed on finally killing something. Let me tell you a little bit about me and hunting. Never in my life have I hunted before. I grew up in western Kansas, where there's a lot of good hunting, good pheasant, good deer. My family wasn't really a hunting family, and so I've been here for 10 years now. And I heard people talking about turkey, and I thought, no, this isn't half bad. Because it's just a bird, you just have to, not a lot of cleanup. I feel like if I shoot a deer, it's going to look at me, and then I'm going to have to examine my own heart, you know. But a turkey, I don't quite feel it quite so bad about. And I thought, well, that's a good entry animal, I guess, into hunting, a turkey. And it also, everybody talks about it. I thought, boy, it sounds so easy, right? You're just going to go out there, you make a few sounds. And I was warned not to make sounds, but make a few sounds, and the turkey's just going to come right up to you. And you come right up to you, and then you just shoot, and you got a turkey to eat, you know. It turns out it wasn't that easy. But I had a good time. We've been going around, anyway, going out to turkey hunts. Nick was kind of the one teaching me how to do it, and a lot of rules, I found out. A lot of rules I was told things not to do. I wasn't supposed to sing. I wasn't supposed to make a lot of sounds. Not supposed to knock down old dead trees in the woods. Not supposed to, not make noises. You can't reposition yourself every 10 seconds. There's a lot of rules, and I can have trouble. I'm kind of squirrely and getting out there. I had trouble sitting still. And I also had trouble thinking, these turkeys, you hear about them running into cars. And I find it hard to believe they've got to be this quiet when they'll just run out in front of your car, you know? So they told me, so we've been out there and we've been trying for about 2 full weeks to get these turkeys in. Sometimes they call, but we only once got any to walk by us, and they were either hens or they had really short beards. It mattered how desperate we were feeling, you know. And they hadn't really seen anything that we could shoot. And so the other day we were out hunting, and we heard one. And Nick and Derek claimed that they saw this turkey. And I don't know if I believe that. They've been telling me all these things. And one of the things they told me is, when you see that turkey, when that turkey's out there, that these turkeys are just real smart, right? And you can't move all of a sudden, or you're going to scare the turkey. And so I hear them say, there's a turkey there. Turkey right in front. And so I pull up my gun. And then I hear them go, oh. And the turkey, what's funny about the turkey is I hear him walk away, and as he was walking away, he almost laughed at me. He goes, he just walked off back into the woods. So I've been thinking about, I've had that kind of bitter taste in my mouth. I thought about that there was these rules I'd been told, a way that you had to behave, a way to think and interact. And I didn't quite believe it, didn't quite follow it, and I ended up getting laughed at by that turkey. And here I'll show you a few pictures. This is us hunted and figured out. Let me go one more picture. Figured out that if I wasn't going to make camouflage, but if he was looking for a giant watermelon patch. One day we were driving down there, and we were talking about interpreting, right? That these turkeys, they've got their own language, and you're trying to call them, and you don't quite know what you're saying to the turkey, or what the turkey's saying to you. We're just trying to hope to hit on some of the same signals. And this morning in the book of Daniel, there's a story that has to do with interpretation, and it makes me think about where we are without interpretation. And this is actually Daniel chapter 2, verse 1. It says, now in the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar is the king of this big Babylonian Empire. It says Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. So this powerful king is having these nightmares, these dreams, and he's not able to sleep, he's not able to rest. Excuse me, another verse there, Derek. It says, then the king gave the command to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king, and the king said to them, I've had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to know the dream. So he kind of calls all of his, these were pagan people, he calls these sorcerers, magicians to come and hear him, to come and hear his dream and interpret it. And so the next thing that happens, give me another verse there. It says, then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will give you the interpretation. Back then in their religion, they had an entire setup for interpreting dreams. If you said there was water in your dream, they'd open up their big book and they'd say, well, here's what water means. And if there was a goat, they could open it up and say, well, if you've got a goat in your dream, here's what that means. And so they say to the king, tell us what's in your dream, and we'll tell you what it means. We'll interpret it for you. But the king answered and said to the Chaldeans, my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me and its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made an ash heap. However, if you tell the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts, rewards, and great honor. Therefore, tell me the dream and its interpretation. So the king says, no, I'm not going to tell you what the dream was, because if I tell you what the dream was, you'll just make up something to satisfy me. I want you to tell me what the dream was, and then tell me what it means. And that leads to some anxiety, as it would. Let's read the next one there. It says, they answered and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will give it interpretation. He answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time, because you say that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there is only one decree for you, for you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me until the time is changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can give me its interpretation. And so the king's not going to budge. They're not only going to have to tell him what the dream means, they're going to have to figure out what the dream was without him telling. One more step there, Derek. It says, then the Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is not a man on earth who can tell the king's matter. Therefore, no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such a thing of any magician, astrologer, or Chaldean. It is a difficult thing that the king requests, and there is no other who can tell it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. And so these magicians, their answer is, what you're asking us to do is something people can't do. Only the gods could know things like that, what is a dream and what it means. Or look inside your heart, look inside your mind, and produce this dream. It's not something we can do. And boy, that stands out to me. He says, it is the good thing the king requests, and there is no other who can tell it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. So when I read that, you know what it tells me? That these magicians and sorcerers are saying? That they're not connected to the gods. That they've got kind of a setup, they've got things they know, but when it comes to something only the gods can know, only God can know, they don't have an answer. They say it's impossible. Now, the trouble is, we've been reading in Daniel. Last week we were introduced to this poor group of guys, these young Jewish men who were brought to Babylon. They're in this group. They're considered astrologers, and they're considered in the same group as the magicians. And so if all the magicians get killed, that means Daniel's going to get killed. That means these other three men are going to get killed along with them. And so our next verse says this. For this reason the king was angry and very furious and gave a command to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went out and they began killing the wise men, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Beginning of verse 6. Then with counsel and wisdom Daniel answered Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree from the king so urgent? Then Arioch made known the decision to Daniel. So Daniel went in and asked the king to give him time that he might tell the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they might seek mercies from the God of heaven concerning the secret, so that Daniel and his companions might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. Stay there for a minute, Derek, on this slide. This is the big one for me. So Daniel hears this problem. The king has had a dream, and the king wants an interpretation, and he's going to kill us. And his reaction is to go and beg for time, and then what does he do? He goes and he gets with his friends, and they begin to pray. They begin to seek out an answer. They begin to seek out answers to what God has put on the king. And the reason why I think that this is an important verse for us to read today is because we live in a world that is desperate for interpretation. Now, I've been spending this last semester at Branson High School, and I got to tell you, I'm with sophomores, those are 15, 16-year-olds. I've never seen a group of people so desperately in need of interpretation, right? They've got a world of experiences coming at them. They've just got experiences after experiences in their lives coming at them. And in 2019, you know what they often don't have? Somebody with some wisdom to help them interpret the things that are going on in life. Somebody with wisdom to walk alongside them and teach them. Right? And you know what our world does today? In place of God's interpretation, we often give something phony. Right? We often do something that fails to really hit at what God would say to us. We live in a world that doesn't want to hear often what God has to say. There are people that are hungry for interpretation. I want you to think about the life experiences that go on, not just in 16-year-olds' lives, but in our lives, right? How do you process death? How do you process pain? How do you process sadness? How do you process loneliness? How do you process, just keep on naming them. Without God, each one of those things can be crippling. With God, that can be difficult. And we as a people, we see people hurting, and sometimes our reaction is to be silent. Sometimes our reaction is to do the same as the world and say, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. I don't know what right and wrong is. I don't know what to tell you. What's Daniel's reaction? Daniel was asked to do something much more impossible than what we asked to do. He was asked to come back and say exactly what a dream was and then tell what it meant. What are we asked to do? Tell people move through life. Point them towards Jesus. Point them towards the gospel. Right? The gospel of forgiveness. The gospel of salvation. The gospel of grace, of love, of goodness. But are we silent? A world that needs interpretation. You know, if you'd given me that shotgun we went hunting with, you said, Josh, go out in the woods and kill a turkey. You know what I would have done? I'd run through the woods. Click that safety off and just ran, you know? And yelled for turkeys. I had no idea what I was doing. Probably would have ended with me in the hospital, right? Or somebody else. I needed a guide. I needed help. The world needs help. They need something only God can provide. And we're the mouthpiece. We're the people that go to God. And so rather than folding our hands and saying, I don't know what to say, I'm dumbfounded, I don't know what we can do. How about we have the urgency that Daniel and his friends had? We say, I'm going to get on my hands and knees and I'm going to pray. I'm not going to stop until I find the answer. I'm going to go with confidence. The confidence that God can speak a word that can melt hard hearts. That God can speak a word that can open blind eyes. God can speak a word that can change things. Give me another verse here, Derek. And so Daniel, once he receives this vision, we'll talk about what it was next week, but he ends with a praise. And I want you to hear the words of this praise that Daniel says. It says, Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. Is that true? Say amen if that's true. Amen. Wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. Is that true? Amen. I think sometimes we accept that we don't know things, that we don't have anything to say. We're the people that are going to God to hear from Him. If we don't have anything to say, then this world is going to fall silent. Give me another verse there, Derek. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known to me what we asked of you. You have made known to us the king's command. And I put this, we got the seniors here today. We got Zoe moving up in age. I put this on you guys. Know that you're going into a world that is lost, a world that needs God, but you serve a God who gives you wisdom. You serve a God who gives you understanding. You serve a God who's going to ask you to be a leader. You serve a God who's going to ask you to step up to the plate. And that there's lives in the balance. And He has put His work in your hands, in our hands. Let's go to the Lord in prayer this morning. Lord, I thank You so much for bringing us together this morning, and I just pray that we would not be people who are silent as the world searches for interpretation. That as we live in a world where people are experiencing things that are overwhelming, experiencing things they don't understand, that we'd be able to be a light in the darkness. That we would be able to be a light in the darkness because we go to You. Because Your light fills us. Because we spend time in Your presence. Because You've given us wisdom and You've given us understanding. God, I pray You humble us and You break us and You help us to be the guides that lead people to You. A city upon a hill. And hear my prayer. Amen.